Hey there. So glad to have you back on the CreativePro podcast. I have with me, I'm David Blatner, president of CreativePro Network, and I have with me Theresa Jackson, our program manager, and Mike Rankin, our editor-in-chief. And we wanted to talk about some big news that has hit the publishing world, design and publishing world, just in the past week or so. I think it was last week, actually, that Adobe MAX, during Adobe MAX, Adobe's biggest event of the year, during Adobe MAX, Canva, which is a pretty big competitor, Canva comes out with this huge announcement that they're going to release the Affinity suite of apps for free. Free. Completely free. Taking it down from a low-cost suite of apps to free suite of apps. And I have to tell you, I'm not that excited. I know a lot of people are very excited. I'm not that excited. And so I figured we'd talk about why that is, that there is interest and isn't interest. And I'm curious about your opinions, Mike and Theresa. I'm just going to say up front, though, that I do admit wholeheartedly that I think the Affinity apps are pretty good. And I think it's awesome that they're free. I just have to say this. It's awesome that it's free because it makes some important design tools available for people who cannot afford the Adobe apps. And that's the key piece. If you can't afford the Adobe apps, all of a sudden you have these things at your fingertips. And they're pretty good. My problem with this, and the reason I'm less excited, is I am so in the Adobe suite. I'm so focused on the highest level of precision and professionalism that I just don't see that coming out of Affinity. I need that. I need that level. And because Affinity isn't at that level yet, and because it's now free, I cannot even imagine that Canva is going to invest the huge sum of money it would take to bring Affinity up to where Adobe is. That's my whole point. That's my concern, and that's why I'm not so excited. But I want to hand this over to you. I had to pound make my point there. But Theresa, what do you think? What's your sense of this news?
I feel like it doesn't really impact me. And honestly, I'm shocked by just all the seeming outrage or excitement. It's like one or the other. You're either like super excited or you think it's crazy. So I don't know. I don't feel like it impacts me because I'm not really that interested in using one of the Affinity apps. But I do think it's good for creatives. I think competition's always good. And my hope is that Adobe's paying attention because
Yeah.
I'm going to be really honest here. My sense, my relationship with Adobe over the last few years, and I've really felt this going to Adobe MAX, is that somehow I'm not that relevant anymore. that
Wow.
that Adobe's focus is more on the hobbyist consumer level. Like they want to reach the whole world. And of course, you have a much bigger pool if you're marketing to everybody, regardless of their skill set or the work that they're doing. You're going to tap into a lot more people. And in their focus on that, I feel like they're really missing. They're not bringing the updates and the tools that I most want to see in my applications in favor of, another AI tool or more Express. I think we see this in InDesign. What was one of the new features is templates that actually take you to Adobe Express. Like, do we need that?
No, nobody needs that
No.
in InDesign.
No, we don't need that.
I think I really like your point that Adobe seems to be diverging to two customer bases.
Yeah.
There's the everybody, which honestly Canva does better than Adobe can do. Canva is just better at reaching everybody at the lowest common denominator, good enough publishing. They're also really pushing hard on the high-end, large enterprise customers. I mean, Adobe is really keen on satisfying very large companies.
Yeah.
And but I agree with you. In between, those of us who are the smaller companies who are just trying to have the highest quality tools, yeah, I'm not sure. It's a challenge sometimes.
And I understand we're a small subset of everybody. And so it's harder to focus their marketing dollars on that really small subset. But there was a time in my career where I really felt like I was their target audience.
Yep.
And I felt like my voice mattered, and that how I use the tools and what I thought about them and the ideas I shared with Adobe, I felt like all of that mattered. And I haven't felt that for a few years. So my hope is that with this announcement by Canva to make Affinity free, is that maybe Adobe's gonna take note and say, well, maybe we need to focus more on those professional creatives
Mm.
and let Canva deal with the everybody else. That's my hope. I think it's awesome for a lot of people, though. I'll give an example. I have a really good friend who's an incredible illustrator, very, very talented. He's retired now. In his early career, he was an Adobe expert, taught the tools, was fantastic at them. But he can't afford that now. He's not earning his living using Adobe tools. He's illustrating children's books. He's using Procreate to illustrate them. That's a
Mm.
$20 app, one-time
Mm-hmm.
fee. He's using an iPad, and then he's using Affinity to do his book layouts. And it's fine. It's perfectly fine for what he's creating.
Good point. I think that's a really key point. That is perfectly fine. Now, Mike, you've actually used the Affinity apps quite a bit. I mean, you've done training on the Affinity apps. What's your sense of this coming? Really, having been using both.
Well, it's fascinating just to listen to you guys. I agree with a lot of what you've said about the focus of the companies. I think it's pretty clear that both Adobe and Canva are playing this game called capitalism. So they're trying to reach a global audience and achieve world domination for their
Mm-hmm.
plans and make as much money as they can. In Adobe, the case is for their shareholders. Can't buy stock in Canva yet, but it's highly anticipated that they're going to have an IPO next year and that
Mm-hmm.
this is part of a run up to that. My thoughts with the specific action of making Canva free, I mean, making the Affinity tools free rather, um, is it's sort of, I mean, this isn't the right term, but it's sort of like a Trojan horse or a lost leader. It's a way of bringing people into their Canva ecosystem and expanding that user base as much as they possibly can.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and while the tools, the basic Affinity tools are free and they say they'll be free forever, and I do believe them, in order to use the next level to get the AI kind of tools, the generative fill and remove and smart tools like that, for that you do need the Canva premium subscription. So it's like, hey, here's the free stuff, kids. Oh, but by the way, if you want the really cool stuff, it's going to cost you $120 a year.
Right. Right.
Now, $120 a year versus 800 something for Creative Cloud is different for some people, but for large, global enterprise customers, that's a rounding error. That's like they
Right.
couldn't care less. They're all about the return on investment, and they want the tools that you talked about, the highest level quality. Give us the best AI that we can possibly get. And I've only played with the new Affinity stuff a little bit so far. I've watched a lot of videos of people playing with it and stuff. It doesn't seem like it's on the level of Adobe's AI tools in Photoshop yet. Maybe it'll get there, maybe it won't. But if you're sitting around futzing around for an hour trying to get something to gen fill correctly versus a thing that you can just do in Photoshop, that's not much of a return on investment, right? So that's one aspect. The other aspect of sort of bringing people in is if you listen to the Canva executives, and they gave detailed explanations for why they said they're making this free, it's that they want to use designers to bring Canva into organizations and sort of evangelize and get marketing and get the other teams, sales and stuff on board as well. So they're sort of seeing the designers as leading the conversation and pulling other departments in. I think that the phrase that they used was, design in Affinity, scale in Canva. So
Hmm.
start your design there. Hey, this is what the brand is going to look like. And then, oh, by the way, now everybody else has to use the Canva tools and get the Canva subscription or something. That's just my speculation, but it's also based on some of the stuff that I've heard them say. So I think it was really a fascinating announcement. I was really impressed with Ash Houston's demo of the Affinity tools and what I've played with a little bit so far. So we'll see what it means for creative professionals, but it really is a fascinating time.
I'm curious.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, David. I'm curious, Mike. You've used the tools. You've done training with it. I haven't. I've never even downloaded it. I'll be totally transparent. What do you think? What do you think it means for our community of creative professionals? Should I be downloading the apps and learning how to use them, or
I think you should, just to put the Adobe tools in context, if nothing else. So you can see the analogs to the tools that you use. I mean, some of the Canva stuff, some of the Affinity stuff, I keep saying Canva, is incredibly slick, and it's incredibly modern and easy to use in a way that you wish Creative Cloud was.
Uh-huh.
I mean, the way that you can switch back and forth between like raster, vector, and layout tools just completely seamlessly right now is unbelievable. It's just like, this is what I would dream of in my head.
Oh, wow.
At the same time, there are hugely missing things. Like, I'm about to do a session at the InDesign conference on scripting and plugins and extensions for InDesign to, help creative pros. It's not scriptable. Like, the Affinity tools haven't developed scripting yet. So, if it's not a built-in feature, you're out of luck. You can't build your own. You can't automate things. They do have like macros and things like that, but not actual scripting. And the other big missing piece for me is an analog to Adobe Acrobat. So for like high-level PDF processing, when you got to go in and remediate or fix something for print production, that doesn't exist in the Affinity suite either.
Can you create a PDF from the?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. You can export, and there's even accessibility tools, so you can create a layout and export it as a tagged PDF. I have some questions out to my folks in the accessibility field. Does this really work? Is this viable? And I'm waiting back for answers on those. It's all new to a lot of us. So,
but you need Acrobat to actually do any edits to the PDF if that's required.
Well, if you have to dig into the tags pane and start,
you either need Acrobat or you need one of these other tools that are out there, because there's a lot of PDF editing tools out there. My feeling, though, is that look, you've got a choice whether you want to go and cobble together a PDF editing app and the Affinity thing, and maybe there's a free other tool that does video and so on, and fonts off of Google. You're cobbling together a bunch of different things in order to get your job done, versus you've got the Adobe Creative Cloud. And I don't mean to push the Adobe Creative Cloud. I don't work for them. I don't make money from them. I don't even have stock in it. My feeling is that I love having a one-stop solution that does all of it. The Creative Cloud, it's a little expensive, but you get not just InDesign, Illustrator, Photoshop, but also all the video tools, After Effects, Premiere. You get all the Adobe fonts. You get Acrobat Pro. You get Fresco. You get all the apps, the mobile apps. It just goes on and on and on. They just keep adding more. Bridge and the cloud services, cloud libraries. Adobe has put together this package, which is just so compelling that I just don't see anything like that coming out of Canva. And I feel like it comes down to one question for me, which is, look, if you didn't have to pay for it yourself, if money were no object, which would you choose? Canva or Adobe Creative Cloud? Affinity or Creative Cloud? And I think 9 out of 10 designers would say, if money weren't an object, I would choose the better tool, Adobe Creative Cloud. It just comes down to that.
I'd also argue that it's not really that expensive. You just ran down a list of all. I don't get paid by Adobe either. So this is just obvious to me. It's all of those tools that you have combined. It's not really that expensive if you're making a living using those tools.
That's the key.
If you're making a living with them, it's an investment in your business. Whatever the size of that business is, your Adobe tools is part of the cost of doing business. Now, if you are a hobbyist or just a creator that creates content and makes a little bit of money here and there, then it's a different thing, because you might not be making enough money to pay for the Adobe tools. And in that case, it's great that Affinity is an option for you. That's awesome.
100% agree.
I think Canva is making, and they have referenced with the phrase that this is a long-term bet. So if you look at their brand persona, it's almost childlike with the saturated bright colors, the sort of really sassy branding, even the fact that like their one file format now is .af. It's just sort of a little sassy, a little edgy, very, very youthful. And they're that's no accident, by the way.
No.
I bet. Yeah, that's great.
They discussed that. And they're extremely focused on supporting teachers and being in classrooms. So I think they're trying to do this grassroots thing where they make Canva and Affinity tools like air. Like everybody is used to seeing them. Everybody has touched them at one point or another when they're growing up doing school projects or when they're young and don't have a lot of money. And in that regard, I'm actually really excited about that, because it brings a level of thinking and awareness of what can be done with design and art and illustration and stuff like that by not limiting people to cheap low-end tools. Like these are really professional level, awesome tools. And if you can imagine it, you can kind of make it. So even if people don't end up staying with the Affinity tools and Canva, at least shows them what they could do, and they can explore other stuff, whether that's Adobe or Figma or something else, and go on to a creative career. So I think, again, this stuff being free is just a wonderful, good thing for the world. Whether it means you should switch and dump Adobe is a very, very different question.
Yeah. I totally agree. I agree with both of you. I really feel like it's a great opportunity. And Theresa, what you said about Adobe having competition and maybe making a dent in their business model, I would love that. I would so love for Adobe to start making some of their tools free, Mike, like you said, for students. I mean, we've seen this from Autodesk for years. So this is a longstanding pet peeve of mine. Autodesk gives away all of their software. If you're a student, you can get it for free. And as soon as you're not a student, as soon as you're making money, great, then go pay for it. That's such a great model that Adobe should be doing to get them hooked, get them into the software. And I don't see them doing that anytime soon. But maybe they would with this new competition.
It's tougher when you have shareholders that you have to report to on a regular basis to say, hey, we're going to make this long-term bet on kids.
Adobe has done that in the past. There's been different models for education. It's constantly in flux, though, and that creates a lack of trust, I think, that the schools they can't depend that whatever they're getting this year, they're going to have next year.
Yeah, it's a challenge. Listen, I so appreciate getting your insights into this. Thank you for taking the time to talk about this. It's, like you said, there's a lot of both excitement and worry and concern and upset. I think it's really great hearing your thoughts on this. Hopefully that has clarified our position, at least, from CreativePro, and maybe that'll help some folks out there make some decisions. So thank you so much for joining.
Thanks.
Thanks, David.